Good morning. Happy Thursday. Today is Thursday, February 29th. I am your morning witch. And if February 29th is your birthday, 4 happy birthdays to you, because it's been 4 years since the last time you got to have a birthday on your birthday. Why is that? Because it's leap year, and leap year is the year when, because the Julian counter doesn't allow for the exact right amount of days or whatever, every 4 years we have one extra year in the calendar or one extra day in the calendar year to make everything equal out right. So throwback to that video a couple weeks ago where I was like, should we even be following the Julian calendar? Leap year babies, what do you think? One last happy birthday. But it is Throwback Thursday, so here's something I was thinking about, and I want you to think about it too. Throwback to the thoughts of where history comes from. Who writes history down? Do you ever think about that when you're reading history? Specifically, let's talk about witchcraft history. Everything that we have written down historically from witchcraft was tortured out of actual Christian women who made up stories of what they thought witches did. So if you want to look up the history of certain occurrences, it's going to include these false confessions it's not real. It wasn't necessarily the real way to practice the craft, which is why following your own intuition and what you've learned is so important. So much of the history of witchcraft is written down by those who condemned witchcraft. And yes, a lot of things did have to be written in code to get around the condemnation. But a lot of things that have survived the historical record are just blatant misrepresentations of what a Christian practicing person thought was done by people who practice the craft. So I just want you to encourage, as you look up the history of things, to try and honor the history of things. Take note of who was writing that history down, because before the Christians took over places and recorded it, the Roman Empire and the Hellenics tried to take over the world and record everything that they had previously erased before, forcing their beliefs onto the rest of Europe, and eventually I'm sure they were and Asia, because they went to Europe, they went to Africa, they went to Asia. So I mean, they really were trying to take over the world as well. So even that written record doesn't necessarily mean anything, because it was written down by a people who had taken over these other people. They had an agenda in what they were writing down in the first place. Like, they were the oppressors, and that is where history is written down, is by the oppressors. So as you are absorbing that history, you have to take in mind where it comes from.